Okay, so welcome back guys. There's been a bit of a pause from me from doing any coding. What it is I've been taking a year off to do my Army Reserves training, but unfortunately I got injured, so now I'm back coding. So this is going to be my first video in a while, and I thought I'd start off by going back to some basics. I've done some previous React videos before, and what I want to do now is I want to revisit some of the things I've done but using TypeScript. So I'm going to start off by setting up a very basic TypeScript React project, and I'm going to show you step by step how to set it up, and then we're going to go from there. And then my intention is that in future videos I'm going to progressively build on what I do today, and then just progressively make the app more complex, add different features to demonstrate different approaches with React. So let's get started. Right, so we're in Github now, and then I'm just going to create a new repository. I'm just going to call it YT React TypeScript 2023. Okay, so that's available, and it's going to be a public repository, so you guys can have access to it afterwards. I'm just going to create this repository. Right, I'm just going to copy this. And then in terminal, so I'm in my Git folder already in terminal. I'm just gonna do git clone. I've cleaned this empty repository, so now I'm just gonna open the project. React TypeScript 2023. So I'm going to open it in my ID, which is going to be WebStorm. New window. So now that we've got a repository where we can start coding, we need to go into the Create React App website and just find the command which we need to create a new React app. So what you'll notice is you can create it using yarn or npm, that doesn't really matter, it's just different package managers you use. But if you want to install a React app with all the scaffolding already in place for TypeScript, then there's actually an extension you can use. So if you look here, you can do npx create React app, my app, so that's just the name of your app, and then the template is TypeScript. So we're going to copy that, and in here I'm going to paste that in, but instead of my app, since we're already in the project folder, we're just going to do a dot. It's telling me that my npm is out of date, so I'm just going to install it into a later version. Oh, what's happened here? Not compatible with your version of Node. So required is Node 18 or greater or equal to 20. Actual is Node version 8.18. Right, so I'm just going to upgrade my Node. Right, so just talk through what I've just done. So my system, it has a package called MVM, and MVM actually allows you to set different node versions. So depending on the work you're doing, different projects, you might need different node versions. So what was happened was, although my normal package manager, Homebrew, it has the latest version of Node installed, because I'm using MVM, the current version of Node that's running on the system was 18.1.0. So that's why when I type node-v, you can see that what's happened is the older version was displaying. So what I've just done is I've just installed the latest version using npm, so 21.2, and then I've set that as the node version. So now if I do node-v, you can see it's 21.2. Now we've got everything installed. I'm just going to save this actually. So git status, git add, git commit -m, initial commit, git push origin head. Right, so that's saved the project as it is to GitHub. So we're going to GitHub now. In this project, we should have our files there. And let's just make sure it's running correctly. So let's go back to the project and let's just run npm start. Because that's the command for starting the project. Right, there it is. It's all running. So the next step is to install ESLint. Now why do we use ESLint? Well, ESLint is used for maintaining code quality. So it helps us find and fix problems in the code. It can also help you maintain a certain code style, if that's what you want to use it for. You can integrate it into most IDEs out there because it's so popular, most IDEs will support it. You can also integrate it into your continuous integration pipeline, so it's always running when you need it to. Right, so we're just on the ESLint website, and then we're just going to run this command npm init. Oh, before that, there's a warning. Basically, we just need to add this to our dev dependencies. Let's do yarn add -d. Right, that's done. Right, I'm just going to run npm init at ESLint/config. Right, how would you like to use ESLint? So we want to check syntax, find problems, and let's set it to enforce code style for now. So we want to use JavaScript modules. It's for a React project. Yes, we have TypeScript. Runs in the browser, popular code style, standard config with TypeScript. I'm going to say JavaScript for the format for the config file. The reason behind that is when you have a JSON file, you can't put comments in there. So it's quite nice sometimes when you have a JavaScript file, you can add comments, you know what the code is doing. So let's set that. And then, so it's asking you whether you want these dependencies installed. I'm going to say yes. I'm actually going to use Yarn because I do prefer Yarn as a package manager. So let's install that. So you can say that it's telling me that I need to remove package.-lock.json because that's actually for, that's a lock file for npm, whereas I'm using yarn. So it's generated a yarn.lock file instead. So I'm going to get rid of that file now. So let's delete that. Right, config file is generated, but the config file itself may not follow your linting rules. That's okay. And then let's have a look at our file. Is it still running? So let's stop the process and then start again. Yep, everything seems to be good. Oh no! Ooh. So look at all these issues that's popped up because of adding ESLint. Well, we're not going to fix it for now. I'm just going to check this in. So we have the code. So I'm just going to put that as the commit message to show that this is the command we've run. Okay, nice, so that's saved. Right, so next step is to fix those lint errors. Before we do that, I'm just going to add some more scripts to here. So you can see here in the package.json, you've got scripts. I'm just going to add two more scripts. One is lint and one is lint fix. So what this does is it's calling ESLint and it's saying find all the files that have JS, TS and TSX extension. So JS, obviously our JavaScript files, TS, they're our TypeScript files, and TSX are, it's like JSX, but it's the TypeScript version. So you may have like JSX files for components. In TypeScript, it's TSX, so we can differentiate component files from other TypeScript files. So we've got one which is just to find the errors. And then we've got one which is to find and quietly fix any which we can fix. So I'm just gonna run this one. So let's do yarn lint fix. We have only 5 errors left. So before we had all these errors, most of it's been fixed now. Now we've only got 5. Let's click on one of them to see what it is. So missing return type on function, what's this about? Okay, so the TypeScript settings at the moment, they've told us that we need a return type on all functions. And this, my ID is highlighted, that's probably a JSX element, so we can do that. JSX.element. Let's see if that fixes it. Yes, so that's fixed that one. So there's a return type. So there's another one, missing return type on function. This one. So this doesn't actually return anything, so we put a void at the end. That should fix that. Let's have a look. Yep, 3 errors. Unexpected nullable object value in condition. An explicit null check is required. Okay, so we need to make sure that this is not null first. Let's have a look at that. See if that fixes it. No. What's going on? So still saying no, it says unexpected value in conditional is always true. So we don't need this. Okay. Right, so we've got 2 errors. Promises must be awaited with a call to catch and then a call to then with a rejection handler, or to be explicitly marked as ignore with void operator. So import then catch ex. Right, let's see if that fixes it. Do we need to await it? Let's have a look. Okay, let's fix that. And now let's fix the triple slash. Right, so this is just commented out. So what would that do? Boom! Right, let's fix all the errors. Before we check it in, let's just check that everything's running locally. Oof, okay. There's an error when we're running. So it says cannot find module logo or its type declarations. Because we're using TypeScript now, it's trying to find a type for this. And because it's not a package which has TypeScript files in, we need to explicitly declare SVG as a type. So let's have a new file called global.d.ts. Add. Right, and we're just going to add this. So this is declaring our SVG module. tsconfig. We need to include. Right. Okay, so basically we're just importing that global types file. That global type file declares the module SVG, and that's fixed the error. So now if we go in our browser, you can see it's running fine. Now that's been fixed, we can commit that to Git. Ooh. So the next step is to install Prettier. Now, Prettier is a code formatter. If you're developing with multiple developers, all the code is formatted the same ways, with indentations, different code styles, everything's the same. Now, this makes it much easier to tell changes in code, which is actual code changes, as opposed to changes which are just differences in formatting. You can imagine if you have several developers all working on a project, one person is formatting their styles with 4 indentations, another developer is formatting with 2 indentations. If one of them touches the files, it's going to change all the indentations on the files, and then it's going to be harder to check the differences when you look at Git. So Prettier gets around this by having a consistent code style. You set the settings for how you want it to look, and then everyone's code is formatted the same way. And configuration file is kept within the project itself, within the repository. So whoever accesses the repository, they'll be using the same configuration file. So let's get into installation. So let's click on install Prettier. So we're using yarn. Right, so that's installed in the package. Right, next step is to create an empty configuration file. Let's do that. So now we've got this prettier.rc file. Next we need to create a Prettier ignore file. So let's create that. So we've got Prettier ignore. Right, let's put that in as the default for now. Right, so we're just going to save that to Git. I'm just going to add 2 more scripts to the package JSON. So the first script is format, and what that does is it runs Prettier, and this write command, that means we're going to fix all the style issues in JS, JSX, TS, TSX, JSON, and all the document files, the MD files. So PC stands for pre-commit, and we want to run pre-commit every time we're going to commit something to Git. And what that does is it runs lint and it runs Prettier. So it fixes any issues before we commit any files. So let's just test that. So let's do on format. Let's see what happens. Right, so it's fixed a couple of issues. The problem we have now is it's causing the runtime to error. And the reason behind that is because Typescript ESLint has some style rules as well. So the style rules for Prettier and the style rules for ESLint are conflicting, basically. You can see if we run yarn lint, that will fix the issues. That fixes the issues, but then obviously it's not formatted correctly. So the next step is we need to make sure that ESLint and Prettier play nicely together. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is in the Prettier file, we can add this. So it means that we prefer single quote. We're going to install a package, yarn add. So it's called ESLint config Prettier. We're going to save that to the dev dependencies. After that's installed, we need to go into our ESLint.js, and then where it says extend, we're going to say Prettier. Now let's run that. So yarn format. Now if we go into local, right, no issues found now. So that's fixed it. So let's run it together, yarn PC. Right, all good. Let's restart that. No issues. Okay, all good. Let's check that in. Final step in this video is we're going to add Husky to our repository. So Husky is what we use to set up a pre-commit hook. Now what a pre-commit hook is, whenever you're about to commit something to GitHub, it will run a series of checks such as linting, tests, etc. So we're going to do that with Husky and integrate it with the script we created earlier, PC. Let's get started. So it looks like if we're running with npm, we have to run npx husky init and then npm install. We're actually using yarn, but unfortunately this is yarn 2, whereas we're using yarn 1. Let's see if we can run it like this. We can run this. That looks like it's done something to our package JSON. Let's see what's happened. So it's added Husky. And then here it's asking you to npm install. Since we're using yarn, let's just type the command yarn, and that should add the Husky package. Right, so yarn lock has changed, which means that the package has been added. So this is the sample pre-commit hook is done. So what it's doing is doing npm test. Let's change that to yarn test, and then we're gonna run. Let's run yarn PC first and then run yarn test. So even before we're running a test, we're going to lint it and we're going to format the code. So now we're just going to see if that works. I'm just going to commit the changes. What's happened here? Let's scroll up on the console. You can see that when we did the commit, it was running the pre-commit hook. We're running the code ESLint fix and yarn format. So it's running ESLint first. There's some console warnings which we can resolve later. And then it's running Prettier. So that's worked correctly. What's also happened is it's running tests, but we don't actually have any tests at the moment. And it's stopping the process for some reason. If we do a Control-C to get out of that, we don't want it to run the test yet because test is not available. So let's comment out this test script first. Let's do that again. Let's use the same commit message. Right, so that's completed properly. So now it's committed, and then we could do a git push. So now if we check our git timeline, we can see that Husky's been checked in. Right, and that's it. So in summary for today, we have set up a repository. We've set up ESLint, we fixed the ESLint errors, we've set up Prettier, and we've reconciled Prettier with ESLint, and we've set up Husky. In future videos, I'm going to continue on this repository and just make it progressively more complex. But for now, I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to share the link to this repository so you can look at the code yourself. Thanks for watching.